Hey there guys, how's it going? Welcome to the third episode of Magic in the Kitchen with Rylie. That's me, of thrivingwithrylie.com. Today we are going to be doing our third installment of our pre-Thanksgiving series. So I wanted to make a fun alternative dessert that's still super Thanksgiving-like. Pumpkin pie is good, but it's fun to mix it up. So I'm doing a pumpkin olive oil cake that is made primarily with almond flour, and then it's going to have a chai-spiced cashew-based frosting. So not a great one to make if you have nut allergies, but not impossible. I'll definitely be writing all of the vegan and allergen-sensitive alternatives on my articles on the website, as well as on my Instagram. So check out Thriving with Rylie on Instagram in order to link to all of those things. And let's get started. So I've got all of my ingredients all lined up and ready to go because it's really helpful to be organized when you're trying to do something like this. And then I've just got one big bowl. The great thing about this is the cake itself is literally just a one bowl situation. So I'm going to start with my dry ingredients. I'm going to do, I like to use half cup measures because, to be honest, I just kind of eyeball it. But, you know, I try to measure. So we've got, this is a half cup measure, so I'm going to do 2 of these guys. And again, it's not an exact science. This is a very forgiving dessert. So if you're not really like a culinary genius, this is a great option because you don't have to weigh everything out to grams. All right. I like to add just the tiniest bit of flaxseed meal just because it's really good for you and it acts as a great binder. If you're doing a vegan option of this cake, you would probably use a flax egg, so you wouldn't add the extra tablespoon of flax meal. I'm going to do about a half a teaspoon of salt. Use pink salt for pretty much everything. And then we're going to do a half cup of tapioca flour. I really like tapioca flour in cooking. It's just like it's a really great binder and it's really lightweight. So it makes, especially for making desserts, you know, it's nice to like do a hearty, you know, healthy dessert every once in a while, you know, like breakfast cookies and stuff, but it's Thanksgiving. So we're going to use white gluten-free flours. And then I'm going to do, I like to also make things that are kind of low sugar. So I'm going to use half coconut sugar and then half of a brand that I like called Swerve that is erythritol sugar. So basically it's really great if you have blood sugar issues. It's a really cool brand because it's, you know, it's a whole science to it, but it's a sugar alcohol and it doesn't really affect your blood sugar. Therefore, it's kind of better for you. You want to use it in moderation, just like anything sweet. But I really like it in desserts. Keeps my sugar down. So if I decide to eat this for breakfast, then I don't feel bad about it, you know? All right. So we've got a half cup of coconut sugar, half a cup of whatever other sugar you feel like using. Again, don't worry, the recipes will be on the website and the Instagram, so you don't have to like write them down or anything. Okay, let's see, and then we just need, forgot one thing, and then the remaining half cup of flour is going to be white rice flour. Like I said, we're being splurgy because it's a holiday. You can use brown rice flour, you could use potato flour, you could use sorghum or teff if you wanted to get real healthy. So we're going to do another half cup of that. Again, as you can see, there's a little extra going in there, which is totally fine. Because we're putting plenty of delicious liquid ingredients to mop all that up. Okay, so we've got all our dry ingredients. I'm going to get a whisk and go ahead and just mix all those together. Break up all the little almond flour clumps. And make sure everything is nice and mixed together. And then I'm going to add my baking soda and baking powder. This one you kind of want to measure a little bit more. So we're going to do, this is a 1/4 teaspoon at a time. So I'm going to do a 1/2 teaspoon total of baking soda. That's 1 and 2. And then we're going to do 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Okay. Then we're done with the tiny spoon measure. All right. Again, you're going to just give that a little mix. Make sure it's all evenly distributed in there. And then you can kind of create a little well in the center. And we're going to add some of our wet ingredients. So I'm going to, I like to use applesauce in a lot of my baking. It just, when you're using non-milks, it just kind of helps keep the moisture in. It has pectin in it, so it acts as a binder, which is great in gluten-free cooking. So I'm just going to go ahead and add about 1/2 cup of applesauce. Recycle that. And then I'm going to use about, so this is a 15-ounce can of pumpkin. They tend to be weird measurements. You'll get 12 or 15. 16 is ideal. So you're going to use about 1 cup of pumpkin. So that would be just a little over half this can. All right. So I'm going to scoop this in to the center here. So yeah, a little over half the can. Set the rest of that aside. You can use 3 small, it's nice to have your eggs at room temperature when you're baking. Got 3 small or 2 large eggs. Mine are little, so I'm gonna do 3. I also really, this is a dessert that I like to slow bake. So a lot of times things will bake at like 350 or 400. When I make olive oil cake, I really like to put it closer to 325 and bake it a little bit longer. It just ensures that the cake is cooked through without the outside being drier than, or without the outside being way drier than the inside, yeah. So, got my eggs in there. All right. Hands. All right. And then I'm going to do a couple tablespoons of agave, just for a little richness. And then we're going to use about 1/2 cup of olive oil, which sounds like a lot, but it's not like you're eating this whole cake. And olive oil is good for you. So it's almost enough. Don't worry, I've got it back up. All right. And there's so much going into this cake, you don't have to use expensive olive oil for this. Really, like the lighter, less fragrant olive oil is best. So we're going to put that in here. And then we're going to do 1/2 cup of your milk of choice. I'm going to use macadamia. All right, and I've got all that in there. If you feel like it, you could maybe achieve better results putting the mixing the wet ingredients in a separate bowl. But I tend to be a little bit of a shortcut taker, and this cake has always turned out really good when I make it this way. So, and because it's not a glutinous flour, you know, it's harder to overmix. You're not going to, you know, overbeat the gliadin, so to speak. So you can just mix all that together. Shouldn't take too long. All right, so that is all mixed there. I'm going to add just a couple more things. I'm going to do a little bit of vanilla extract because it just makes everything more magical. And then I'm going to add some like pumpkin pie spices to this. We're going to do a tri-spice frosting, but I still like to add flavors to the cake itself as well, in case I have some weird non-frosting humans. So generous amount of cinnamon, a little bit of ground ginger. Let's see here. Just a little bit of nutmeg. Nutmeg's pretty strong, so just a little bit of that. And then ground cloves, which I have around here somewhere. Here we go. This is my really giant, amazing spice drawer over here. It's out of the shot, but that's okay. We'll check that out later. Good amount of cloves. And that is everything. So I'm just going to mix these spices in one more time. And you should have a nice, I'll show this to you, should be a nice dough, not too liquidy, but like it's okay if it is a little bit liquidy. I like to let it sit for just a minute so that the liquid gets absorbed and the sugars kind of dissolve and everything just kind of comes together really nicely. So it's all mixed up in my little bowl. I've got a round pan that I greased, and then I put some parchment paper in the bottom, and then I put spray oil on top of the parchment paper. It helps for when you're gonna flip the cake out later. So it just helps keep everything nice and running smooth there. So my oven is preheated to 325. And I'm just gonna set that aside and grab my spatula. And we're just going to empty this into the little greased pan. Super easy. That literally took like, what, 10 minutes? Not even? So, super easy, but super impressive dessert for all of the humans who don't love to cook, but still want to show up with something. All right. So, perfect amount of dough fits in this little pan here. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this in the oven. This is going to bake for at least an hour. But depending on your oven, it can take, 75 to 80 minutes. You really just want to kind of, I'll show you a little bit later, but you really just kind of want to like shake the pan a little bit. And as long as the center is not moving, you're good. You can stick a toothpick in it. It doesn't have to come out completely clean as long as it's mostly clean. I've overbaked a lot of desserts trying to adhere by that whole stick coming out clean rule. Don't totally believe in it. Raw eggs don't freak me out. I mean, you can just, as long as an egg is not already containing salmonella, you can eat raw eggs. So you don't have to be so intimidated by underbaking things. Honestly, if you underbake this a little bit, it just has more moisture. And is even just more delicious. Okay, so while our cake is baking in the oven, we're going to go ahead and make the frosting. So I've got, in this little saucepan here, I've got a half cup of coconut oil, a half a stick of vegan butter, a quarter cup of macadamia or other vegan milk, a pinch of salt, and then the chai seasoning. I use this countertop chai blend, but you could use just regular chai spices. You could just mix them up if you have them in your cabinet already. So that's going to be cinnamon, cardamom, clove, black pepper. This one has a little bit of turmeric, and nutmeg. That's the one I'm forgetting. So I've got my spices and my oils in here, and those are going to just melt on low until just all of the solids are melted. Oh, and then I've also added a quarter cup of cacao butter. So you can kind of call this a white chocolate chai frosting, but whatever you feel like. So those are all going to be just nice and melty together. And then in the meantime, I've been soaking about a cup of raw cashews. So I'm going to use those in my beloved Vitamix. And then I've got all my melted oils. Make sure those are all thoroughly mixed. And then I'm going to add those to the blender. Again, being careful because that's going to be pretty warm. And then I'm going to put the top on and make sure that it starts on low and then slowly bring up the speed to high. Blend that until it's nice and smooth. If it is a little thick, you can add a little bit more of the milk if you'd like. And you should end up with a super tasty, you want it to be thick though, so just pour enough liquid in so that it's barely blending. And then taste it. Should be really thick and delicious and creamy. We're also going to add to this about the sweetness level is totally up to you. We're going to add about 3 tablespoons of agave. You could use regular sugar if you like. You could use maple syrup. You could use honey. I'm going to use agave. So I've got about 3 tablespoons in there. Put the top back on and mix that in. Taste that. Again, it's just me and my boyfriend eating this, so I'm not being super sanitary. And then you can just adjust it as needed. You can add more spices. I'm going to add a little bit more of my spice seasoning. I think I'm also going to add a little bit of vanilla. You'll come to learn that this is how I cook. It's definitely off the cuff. I'm not a super organized chef, but I am a good one, so it's okay. Add a little bit of vanilla extract because it's delicious. And I feel like it could use a little bit more sweet. So I'm going to go ahead and add the agave. Blend that one more time. Perfect. All right. Hey there, guys. So it's been about an hour, and my oven seems a little extra hot today, so my cake is done. I've been baking it at 325 for 1 hour, and it's super beautiful. So there are 2 ways that you can apply the frosting. I'm going to let that cool for a little bit, and it should pull away slightly from the edges. So you've got 2 options here. You can take a plate, and once it's cooled enough to touch, cover it with the plate and flip it. And then if your frosting is still pretty liquidy, you can actually just pour the frosting over the top. That's one option. The other option is to do the plate flip thing, but you can actually chill this frosting down a little bit until it's a little bit more solid, and it should become spreadable. The cacao butter and the coconut oil and the butter will all solidify, so it'll create a firm frosting, but the agave and the milk will keep it pliable. So those are 2 really great options, and I hope that you enjoy this cake. I will be posting the recipe and photos and everything else on Instagram and on the article section of my website at thrivingwithrylie.com. And I can't wait to figure out what I'm going to cook for the next episode. If you guys have any ideas, go ahead and let me know in the comments or send me a message. Can't wait to hear what you want me to do. Should be a fun challenge. And I'm going to go eat some cake. Adios.